We have a new caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Doug. It's Alex Britell. How are you?
Hey, Alex Britell. I'm wonderful. Alex, you're a reporter. Tell us about what you do and where you're from and what is your firm.
Sure. I am a reporter and editor for the Real Deal magazine down in Miami. We're the leading real estate magazine in South Florida. We're actually based in New York, where we have a hard copy publication. And a few years ago, we came down to South Florida and opened up a website, and now we're sort of the go-to source for real estate news down in the Tri-County area.
Well, what is your website, in case I forget it down the road? Because that's very important, and you're right. You've got a lot of people who go on that website and find out about what's happening in the South Florida market.
Sure. The website is therealdeal.com/Miami.
Okay.
And the New York site is just therealdeal.com.
Okay, so it's therealdeal/Miami to get down to the South Florida, which you're the head of that office. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And how long you been there?
Just about a year.
Okay. Well, you've done very well to have so many interviews and good stuff on your website. Again, you write stories all the time about what's happening in the South Florida market. Do you have anything that you'd like to talk about today that maybe you just written or you think would be interesting to our listeners? And again, our listeners are real estate brokers, bankers, government officials, media, auctioneers, investors. Again, give us some insight on what's happening down in South Florida.
Sure. I think there's still this perception of South Florida as this kind of like condo wasteland.
Mm-hmm.
And that was true a few years ago. But the fact is, in the last sort of two and a half, 3 years, the market has totally changed. There was, I remember a few years ago there was a story of this fellow in Fort Myers who was the only resident of his building.
Yes.
And there were a number of buildings that were also like that in downtown Miami. But right now, while prices are still really flat, and they're still down 50% from the peak,
right?
Condo sales especially are doing extremely well. Today, the Miami Association of Realtors released a report that condo sales in April were up 94% over April of 2010. Home sales were up 40% in the same period. So even though prices are still taking time to rebound, sales are doing extremely well, and inventory is really falling, really dramatically. And I think, and a lot of that has come from foreign buyers, which is something that we've been talking about a lot. A lot of money is coming from Latin America, especially Brazil, Venezuela. Brazil mainly because the economy is doing well. Venezuela because there's some political uncertainty there. But those buyers are really driving the Miami market, and they're the ones buying up a lot of these condos.
Very good. Now, the condos, I know, are rebounding, but you're saying that housing and residential homes are doing well, too?
It's not as dramatic,
okay.
And part of that is because you have so many foreign buyers, it's easier for them to buy a condo as a second home if they're not going to be the end user than it is to buy a single-family home somewhere in Florida. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Well, Miami has always been the gateway to South America, and very interesting what you're saying about Venezuelans and Brazilians that are buying right now. So that's wonderful. How can people reach you by email, perhaps, talking about maybe stories that they'd like to let you know about in the South Florida market?
Sure. My email address is AB, like the first two letters of the alphabet, at therealdeal.com.
Okay. And what do you see for the future? This is putting you out on the limb because no one knows the future, but as far as South Florida goes, you've got residential, you've got commercial, you've got the condos. We've already talked about condos. Do you see a push upwards? Do you see flat for another couple years? What do you think, Alex?
Obviously the economy has a huge part to do with that. There's still uncertainty in the economy, but I am pretty bullish on the market down here.
Mm-hmm.
I think, as I said, inventory is falling a lot, and logically, prices are eventually going to have to start coming up as inventory falls. Even the areas where there isn't a lot of buying, there's been a huge movement of renters in South Florida, and so they're sort of making a lot of these communities that were empty a few years ago, bustling and sort of energetic. So I'm pretty bullish. I think that activity is going to have a positive effect for the residential and for commercial. I think the more people you have moving around, bringing life to the city, can only be a good thing.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think you're exactly right about the condo deal, where people throughout the country thought that it was just South Florida was down in the tubes because of the condo market, and that's not true anymore. It's really come back, and again, a lot of help from the Brazilians and the Venezuelans, helping. That's wonderful. Hey, Alex, give us your website again, and I thank you so much for calling in, but give us that website again.
Sure, it's therealdeal.com/Miami.
Okay. Hey, Alex, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it, and I appreciated your coverage of the South Florida market, and hope to work with you in the future.
Thank you so much, Doug. Thanks for having me on, and the show's really great.
Well, thank you. You have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, you too.